What's up, everybody? Cole Sands here again with your weekly fishing report. It is August 23rd, 2021, and the fishing's actually starting to pick up a little bit. We had a lot of rain this past week, which in turn created a lot of current, changed up some of the grass mats, some of the grass lines, and ultimately made the fishing good, which is great to see in August because this is typically a really tough month. And we'll go ahead and dive into the report, what I caught them on this past week on my guide trips, and kind of what I expect looking forward to these upcoming weeks. And so for starters, this big rain, it cooled the water down a lot. You know, the water was upper 80s in the pockets. On the main lake, it was, 83, 84. And I saw after that big storm we had, I think it was on Tuesday, the main lake water temp cooled down to about 75 for a couple days. And it changed some things around for sure, but it seemed to really get the fish active and biting. Like I talked about last week, I expected a topwater to play really big this week with the changing weather, and it did. We caught several fish this past week on that same 3DB pencil popper from Yozuri, mainly through a shad color, something kind of translucent. On cloudy days, it kind of stuck more to the bone. But that's been a really good color this fall, catching big fish, catching a lot of fish. Like I mentioned in weeks prior, wind is a big thing. Anywhere that wind is pushing up against some grass lines, that's really where I've been targeting that. Especially if you're seeing a bunch of shad get pushed up against that grass, you're probably going to catch some fish in that bait. But it's kind of strange. I expected them to bite it really good on the nasty days, and we caught some, but it seemed like a lot of them fish wouldn't come all the way to the top to commit. And what we did to catch those fish, we could go in them same grassy areas with the bull shad. And basically all I'm doing with this is I'm waking it as fast as I can over that grass. And it was crazy. Some of the fish wouldn't come up and hit a topwater, but they'd hit this right under the surface. So it was a really good bait. Caught a lot of good fish. Lost some really big ones. But that's just part of it when you're fishing in grass with a big swim bait. You're going to lose some fish. Besides that, good old drop shot I've talked about every week. It's been a staple. Little 3/16 ounce weight, 6-inch worm, 4-inch worm, whatever you like, finesse worm. Throwing this still on some ledges, and I've really started just throwing this kind of everywhere. I'm actually starting to see some schooling activity, especially first thing in the mornings and late in the afternoons. You'll see back in these pockets, especially the wind-blown pockets, you'll see bass coming up. You'll see white bass, and they're coming up and they're eating these little shad. And I've actually been able to throw that drop shot underneath some of them schooling fish and catch a little bit better sized bass, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what they think it is, but they seem to be really eating it. And when I'm seeing that bite going on, I've been throwing that drop shot some, but one of my main baits, one of my favorites, is the Yozuri 3DB jerkbait. And this is a really natural looking, very, very realistic shad imitator. And I've been killing them on this in two places. One, if I see fish schooling, whether it's grass or without grass. But if I can get up to some grass with a hard edge, I'll kind of parallel it with this thing. Last night I caught like 15 fish, 15 casts in a row, making the same cast with that jerkbait. And it's a lot of fun. I'll beef up the line a little bit. This is 14-pound Yozuri T7. Usually jerkbait fishing, you're throwing like 8 or 10 pound in the wintertime, but I beefed it up a little bit just because if you are fishing grass, you can kind of snap it out. And, I'll jerk it down until I feel the grass, and I'll kind of pop it sideways, pop it up, trying to get it to free from that grass. And that's when you get a lot of the bites. So definitely keep a jerkbait on right now. It's a good way to catch a lot of fish and a couple good ones. And then, like I said, we had a lot of weather, so moving baits. Had a couple good days on a chatterbait, just throwing this down grass lines where the wind was pounding on it. We had a lot of rain. It seemed if it was really nasty, a chatterbait was better, but when it calmed down, once that rain would pass, I would switch actually to a swim jig, which it's basically the same concept. You're still trying to imitate a small bait fish, and basically that's the same exact thing as a chatterbait without the same violent presentation. If you're trying to get a subtle bite, maybe it's sunny, not that much wind, not that much rain. That's when I pick up a swim jig, just something that you can go behind a lot of people with and just slow it down. It's super natural, and caught several good fish on it this past week. It definitely seems like the grass bite's the biggest player right now still. I'm targeting grass lines anywhere from 4 to 10 foot of water, And then, but like I said, you can even get in some pockets right now late in the afternoon. There doesn't have to be grass as long as there's a bunch of bait, and you can catch several fish. And another bite I saw this week, with the amount of rain we had, the water actually came up. So usually the frog bite on Chickamauga doesn't get really good till October and even November. And the reason is you have a grass mat, it's a solid grass mat, and you're waiting for it to get hollow underneath. When that grass gets hollow underneath, that's when the fish can go under it and, really feel comfortable. But what's happened with the water coming up, some of them grass mats have risen. And once that's created is a little bit of a canopy between the grass, that's growing, and the grass mat. So there's actually been kind of an early frog bite. And it's not great, don't get me wrong, but you can catch a couple good fish doing it. And, that's why a lot of people like to come to Chicken the Falls, because it is a great lake to frog fish. And I throw 2 styles of frogs, throw a little top toe style or something you can buzz, and then just the typical old spro or, whatever frog you like to throw. But they are biting it a little bit. I expect as the water comes back down, that bite will go away because the grass will still be too thick. But while the grass is a little bit up, they're definitely starting to hit a frog a little bit. It's something to keep on your deck and throw, because it is a ton of fun. Then lastly, the bait that I caught some of my biggest fish on this week is that gambler stinger. I talked about it a little bit last week. I think it's 1.25 ounces, could be 1.5 ounces weight. A little 4/0 straight shank hook, and a 65-pound braid. And now, you're not getting a lot of bites right now, but it seems like every time I've set the hook with it lately, they've all been, 3+ pound fish. They've been solid fish, a couple bigger ones mixed in. And the key with that is, you get on some of them grass flats, and some of them it's just a really hard edge. It might be a mat and then 6 foot deep right off the edge, or 8 foot deep. That's what I'm looking for. Now, if you get in grass where it's 4 foot, you're starting to see some grass, but it's not topped out, but you don't get a topped out grass, so it's 2 foot. That's not stuff I'm gonna punch. I look for them hard edges where that grass mat goes close to the river channel. Usually when I punch, it's all main lake. I don't punch much back in the creeks. And it's hard to really get on a pattern with it. The main thing you can do if you want to get good at it, just get on a grass line and just go. Keep that rod in your hand. Sometimes you go 2 hours without a bite, but it seems like when you do connect with one, it will be a big fish. So I expect the fishing to stay good this week. This rain seemed to really help, cooling down that water. As it warms up some again, it'll probably slow down some, but really excited, really optimistic about this week of guiding. Got several trips, and I think it'll be great. But thanks guys for watching. Good luck in the water this week, and y'all will see me next Monday. Thanks.